Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Good evening. You're watching the news from the Sultanate of Oman television. First, the headlines. Upon royal orders of His Majesty Sultan Qaboos, the Sultanate helps evacuating the British diplomats from Aden to the Sultanate. Upon royal orders of His Majesty the Sultan, 40 wounded Yemenis are received by the Sultanate to undergo treatment. And Libya's government conducts airstrikes on a military camp and attempts to hit the airport in Tripoli. Those were the headlines, and now for the news in detail. Upon royal orders of His Majesty Sultan Qaboos to help the British government in the evacuation process of a number of British diplomats from Aden in Yemen and for humanitarian reasons. A responsible source at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs stressed that the Sultanate, in collaboration with authorities concerned in Yemen, has this dawn ensured the evacuation and transfer of British diplomats to the Sultanate by a Royal Air Force of Oman aircraft to help them to return to their country afterwards. Upon royal orders of His Majesty Sultan Qaboos to fulfill the Yemeni demand and for humanitarian needs, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs said that the Sultanate received this morning 40 Yemeni wounded people, among which a number of children, to undergo treatment due to the blast that targeted two mosques yesterday in Sana'a in Yemen. The international reactions continue on the attacks that targeted two mosques in Sana'a in Yemen, killing more than 140 people and wounding 351. Saudi Arabia expressed its support for legitimacy and the Yemeni people with its own capabilities. It also called upon Yemeni sides to respond immediately to participate in the Riyadh conference. The custodian of the two holy mosques ordered to send medical and for the wounded, and that the kingdom is ready to transfer those needed treatment to the medical centers in the kingdom. On its part, the United States condemned the attacks and expressed its regret for what it described as the brutality of terrorists who committed these attacks against the Yemeni citizens during the performance of prayers. United Nations Secretary General Ban Ki-moon strongly condemned the attacks on two mosques in Yemen's capital Sana'a and called on all Yemeni sides to immediately cease all hostile actions and exercise maximum restraint. He demanded all sides to abide by their stated commitments to resolve differences by peaceful means and engage in good faith in the ongoing UN-facilitated negotiations. Under the auspices of His Highness Sayyid Asad bin Tariq Al Said, the World Down Syndrome Day in Oman is held this morning at the Suadi Resort. More details in the following report by Abdullah bin Ahmed al-Rabai.
وهو 21 من مارس من كل عام.
الآلية في التخطيط والتفكير والتنظيم وسائل الجمعيات احتفالاتنا باليوم العالمي المتناول الإمكانات والوسائل التوفيق والتطوير وتنمية مقومات العطاء.
2003 until today, 2,000 teachers. There is a chromosome dimension.
The fishing sector in the Sultanate is one of the vital sectors that contribute to increasing value added and diversifying sources of income. The government has sought to develop this sector through the implementation of several projects. 500 million Omani riyals are allocated to support the strategic plan 2013-2020 to develop the fishing sector in the Sultanate. The state's general budget 2015 also includes two projects related to fisheries wealth sector, namely the Fisheries Industry Complex project and the development project of infrastructure to upgrade the pisciculture in the Sultanate. The Sultanate's current fish production amounted to more than 200,000 tons. It is expected, as per the strategic plan, which the ministry started to implement, that it will gradually double as to reach to 500,000 tons by the end of 2020. It is hoped that the contribution of fisheries wealth sector in the national income will increase through the implementation of the 9th five-year development plan 2016 to 2020, to 3 or 4% through increasing the number of fishing ports from 19 to 30 ports, equipped with all services that achieve the sector's sustainability and growth. Due to the strategic and vital location of Duqm Economic Zone, the fisheries industries estate in Duqm, when it enters operation phase with local international investments, will be the biggest estate in the Middle East in the fisheries production and industries sector. Tender Committee of the Special Economic Zone Authority at Duqm awarded projects worth more than 22.3 million Omani riyals in its second meeting of the year. The new projects included establishing general dumping site for dangerous and non-hazardous waste surface water drainage system and project of land leveling in the south of the heavy industry zone, with an area of 180 hectares to reduce health risks in the industrial zone to prevent environmental risk and provide eco-friendly engineering sites. The National Center for Statistics and Information won the Best Smart Application Award in the Sultanate. This came through the participation in the E-Government Excellence Award competition on the Arab region level, organized by Excellence Award Academy in Kuwait. It is worth mentioning that this competition witnessed the participation from more than 5 government bodies in the Sultanate, including National Center for Statistics and Information. The actual exchange rate index rose at the end of December last year by 5.6% compared to 2013 due to an increase in the purchasing power of Omani Riyal. Statistics issued by the National Statistic Information Center showed that the total money supply rose at the end of 2014 to reach more than 1.5 billion riyals. The local liquidity increased at the end of the last December by 16%, registering more than 13.7 billion riyals. Stay tuned because still to come in our news bulletin. A tranquil river in the Dubrika region of Guinea is about to undergo a massive change. Welcome back to the news from the Sultanate of Oman television. Iran's President Hassan Rouhani said today differences remain, but all issues can be solved in talks with the West to secure a long-sought deal on his country's disputed nuclear program. The official IRNA news agency quoted him as saying he believes an agreement is possible and that the other party must make its final decision. For this, Rouhani comments came a day after the latest round of talks between Iran and the P5+1 group of the world powers, Britain, China, France, Russia and the United States, plus Germany, ended without a breakthrough. The negotiations are to resume on Wednesday, leaving the two sides with just 1 week to meet a March 31st deadline for agreeing the outlines of a nuclear deal they hope will end a 12-year deadlock. 45 people, including 5 children, were killed in attacks on Syria Kurds as they celebrated their New Year. A monitor said today, accusing Daesh group of responsibility. The attacks occurred last night in what was one of the Daesh bloodiest days in Syria, as they left dead more than 120 people across the war-ravaged country. 2 explosions struck as members of Syria's Kurdish minority took part in festivities on the eve of Nowruz, the Kurdish New Year, in the northeastern city of Hasaka. The explosions were a few hundred meters apart from each other, with at least one of them caused by a suicide bomber inside a vehicle. Libya's government conducted airstrikes on a military camp today and attempted to hit the airport in Tripoli, the capital controlled by a rival administration. The attack came a day after the official government said it had launched a military offensive to liberate Tripoli, which has been seized by a group called Libya Dawn in August, reinstating a previous assembly. Tripoli-based Al-Naba television station said warplanes had also hit the western Zuwara airport, though there was no immediate confirmation for this. Yesterday, UN Special Envoy said the military offensive threatened international efforts to reach agreement in the next few days on a unity government and lasting ceasefire. Western leaders say the UN talks are the only way to end the chaos in Libya. A Chinese construction company is building what will be Guinea's biggest dam, a project which should supply the capital Conakry with more reliable electricity, but is leaving villagers having to relocate to higher ground uncertain about their future. More details in the following report.
A few hours from the Ghanaian capital Conakry, this tranquil river in the Jubreka region is about to undergo a massive change. On this site, a Chinese construction company is building what will be the country's biggest dam. Hundreds of local and Chinese labourers are working around the clock on the Coletta Dam, which will be more than a kilometre long. Abulay Bangora is watching them dig up the land he used to farm.
My village hasn't been relocated. It's just the dynamiting and pollution that are bothering us. Some of our houses have got cracks, but it's not a problem. I wasn't even born when they started talking about this dam. I never thought I'd see the day it was built in my lifetime. It's a big thing.
After studying in China and Canada, civil engineer Mustafa Carlo has returned home to take part in Guinea's development. But he says the dam is only the start in the race for Guinea to become energy independent.
240 megawatts isn't enough to cover Guinea's electricity needs. It will be able to supply the capital, Conakry, the factory in Syria and a few villages in maritime Guinea.
3 villages in areas that will be flooded by the dam are going to be relocated to hills nearby. The inhabitants of Cassia will get new homes, but they are uncertain about their future quality of life.
We're happy to be able to move into new, pretty spacious and permanently built homes, but we're worried because we don't know how we're going to live there. The dam is going to flood farmland, we won't have access to the river in the new village, and the trees that the government promised us haven't been planted.
They also worry because no authorities have yet visited them to answer their concerns. But those responsible for the project say they will help the villagers once they are moved by supplying electricity and water, supporting businesses and farmers, and planting fruit trees. For Guinea's President Alpha Condé, providing a decent electricity supply to the capital for the first time since independence would prove a remarkable achievement and help win him support in October's election.
This is the Sultanate of Oman television. Before we end tonight's bulletin, here are the main points once again. Upon royal orders of His Majesty Sultan Qaboos, the Sultanate helps evacuating the British diplomats from Aden to the Sultanate. Upon royal orders of His Majesty the Sultan, 40 wounded Yemenis are received by the Sultanate to undergo treatment. And Libya's government conducts airstrikes on a military camp and attempts to hit the airport in Tripoli. With that, we come to the end of tonight's news bulletin. From all of us here at the newsroom and the studio, thank you for watching and good night.